Hi everyone, I'm Faith Moore, and we're going to do another live edit. Just to remind you, or if you don't already know, I am a freelance editor. I edit all types of writing, and you can go to my website, faithkmoore.com, and click on the editing services tab to learn more about all the different editing services that I offer. I offer a lot of different types of edit. You can also just scroll down to the description of this video and there's a link. So you can just click right there and that'll take you right to the editing services page. These live edits are a way for me to kind of show you the kinds of things that I'm thinking about when I'm editing. Maybe that's going to help you to think about your own editing as you're working on your writing, or maybe it's going to give you a sense of the kinds of things I do so that if you're wondering whether you should hire me or not, this could help. I will say that when I am working on somebody's writing, not in a video, but at home, you would receive much more than you're going to see me do here, because I would have the full picture of your story or your paper or whatever it is you're writing to be able to comment on it in a broader way. Right now, I'm only going to be editing a couple of pages of someone's writing. So, you'll see me doing some copy editing and proofreading and also commenting a little bit on what's going on in the story and making some changes and suggestions, but you won't see me go as in depth as I would go if I was working on your writing. So today I'm actually going to be doing something a little different, which is that I am going to be editing the script for a graphic novel. And what that means is a lot of the actual writing, a lot of the text that you'll see on the page isn't actually going to appear in the book. It's just directions for the artist, for example, of what the scene should look like. So I'm not going to be editing that writing in the same way as I would edit it if it was a description that a reader was going to read, because I would want that to be much more vivid and clearer. And if it's written in a way that I might change if I was looking at it for a novel, I'm probably going to skip past that because the reader is never going to see those words. The dialogue, on the other hand, I am going to pay close attention to, and I'm also going to pay close attention to what the scene that is being described is showing us, in case I think that something else should be happening in the scene. But I wanted to make that clear, because if I see if a description is not particularly apt or something like that, I might comment on it, but I'm not going to spend as much time on it as I normally would because it's not going to appear in the text. So this is the first couple pages of a graphic novel. The author's name is Eric Blake, and he has been kind enough to, first of all, wait for a very long time for me to get to his writing. So thank you very much. And also kind enough to share these opening pages of his graphic novel with us. So I'm with you right now so that you can see what I see. There we go. And let's take a look. Okay, panel 1, the exterior of a tall New York apartment complex in the night, towering above us. We're looking up towards the high rise on top. There's a full moon in the sky. Okay, I said I wasn't going to comment on the writing, but I do want to say one thing quickly because this comes up a lot and it is, to me, a fun fact and might help you sometimes. Toward is the American way of saying that word, and towards is the British way of saying that word. So if you are an American author and you are writing for mostly an American audience, then you want to write toward, not towards. Both are technically correct, but I just wanted to put that out there in case that comes up for you. Okay, there's a full moon in the sky. Okay, so this is a caption. So this is words that are actually going to appear on the page. The night can be as cold as the ninth circle of hell. Okay. This is a tricky one because in the Inferno, which is what is being referenced here, I assume, the hell is cold, but in our own kind of cultural understanding or just sort of like cultural touchdown, hell is hot, right? You burn in hell. So on the one hand, this indicates that this character, Adam, is well read and perhaps an intellectual or something like that. On the other hand, your reader might feel like, what are you talking about? So I'm just going to flag that because even though I get it and many readers will get it, some readers won't get it and they won't know what you're talking about. So since this is the very first thing that your reader is reading, I wonder about it, and I would put a question there as to whether or not that's what you want them to be thinking about right off the bat. All right. Not always the temperature around you. Sometimes the chill is in the soul. Okay. What I'm getting here is a kind of noir idea. I think this is supposed to be a sort of noir situation. And when we're in a kind of noir situation, we can say things that sound a little bit more corny or cliche than we normally would if we were just writing some dialogue, for example, for our characters. I mean, no one would say that. No one in the whole world would say that. So again, I want to flag this. I want to say two things. One, I want to say that if you're going to have this kind of, noir type, kind of hard-boiled detective type monologue, you want to be careful that what you're saying is still new and different. I'm feeling like the chill is in the soul is a little bit cliche or a little bit overused, and I would want something different. I would want to keep with the same cadence of speech. I would be fine with this kind of like comparison between the cold and the feeling, my feelings and all of that. I would be okay with that. I'm on board with the notion that you are bringing your reader into this world using the touchstones of noir fiction to help them figure out what kind of a world we're in, what kind of a place this is, and that you're going to be going from there. I just wonder, and I would kind of question this, and if I was working on this with this author, we might go back and forth about what else to put there, but I would just, again, I would flag that. I would say, do you want to go with something a little bit more, a little bit different, a little bit less kind of cliche? Or are you really kind of trying to hammer us over the head with the like noir cliche image, and therefore you want to keep it there? And we would have a conversation about that. Okay. Okay, now this is another description of what the panel looks like. In the air outside the high-rise, looking in through a large open glass window, Helsing's inside. He's still dressed in the full garb of the hard-boiled detective, but now with surgical gloves. He's on one knee beside the sprawled on the ground body of a wealthy man dressed in a robe for bed. In one hand, the detective shining a small extendable flashlight at the body. Okay, I am assuming that Helsing is Adam. And since these descriptions aren't going to be in the text, I'm not going to write anything here, but just since this is presumably the directions for your artist, I would just wonder about that. Okay. Usually that's enough. The sort of cold you never want to feel. The fear that something is about to come. Okay, what's enough? Wait, now I'm confused. Sometimes the chill is in the soul. Usually that's enough. The sort of cold you never want to feel, the fear that something is about to come. So I'm finding this section here to be confusing. I don't know enough for what. Okay, you never want to feel that cold, and the fear that something's about to come, I can get that. I can get a sense of like, spine tingling. It's not so much necessarily the cold outside, but the kind of spine tingling feeling that makes you shiver. But you have told us already that it is in fact cold outside. So now this character is just cold, but now we're talking about fear of something that's to come, the kind of cold you never want to feel. I'm a little confused here. So I want some clarity. Let's keep going. That's what you've seen. That what you've seen won't be the worst of it all. It's a primer for things to come. And you know it. Okay. So I would want to go back to this author and talk about, I get the picture. I get these seems like these are the goals here. We want to introduce this noir world and this noir character and the way that he talks. And I think that in some ways that is happening here, and the author's doing a really good job just sort of dropping us down into this world. On the other hand, I feel like this dialogue is a little opaque, and I'm not 100% sure that it's conveying what I think the author wants to convey, which is that it is cold outside, but also there's a kind of spine tingling chill that the this character is feeling because something bad is coming. And so I would want to work together with this author to create more, to make sure that the dialogue is clearer to express that image. Okay, so I like the tone. I like that we're dropped into this world. I like that it is this kind of hard-boiled noir type monologue, but I think it's not as clear as it could be, and I would want to work on that. Okay. Inside, on Adam as he rubs his chin in thought, thinking hard. Of course, that comes with the job. Anyone in my particular profession has a very particular purpose attached. We are to investigate whatever may imply something beyond a natural crime. Okay, this is more straightforward. I think now we're getting a sense that this is some kind of supernatural detective, or a detective of the supernatural, and that's fine and interesting and cool, because you know, we've seen a lot of noir, we've seen a lot of hard-boiled detectives, so we want to know what's different about this. This is what's different. It seems like this person, Adam, who may be Helsing, and then we're wondering if there's some sort of like vampire connection, but okay, we're going to keep going, is not just a detective. He's a detective of supernatural crimes. And okay, it comes with the job. I think if we had tightened up the dialogue earlier, this idea, of course, that comes with the job, that would imply the kind of spine-tingling sense that something is coming, and then we would feel like, oh, okay, you're a character that's walking around all the time with this feeling of like foreboding. Okay, so that's interesting. That's an interesting character trait. We can go with that. Anyone in my particular profession has a very particular purpose attached. I don't know, very particular purpose attached feels a little too formal for this kind of thing. You know, I would just say, of course, that comes with the job. And then I might just say investigating, you know, and investigating the supernatural, or investigating crimes beyond the natural, or something like that. You know, I think I would want to condense this a little bit. Okay. The dead man sprawled out on the floor. From the look on his face, he died filled with both frustration and fear. His mouth is agape as if he tried to cry out amid the act. Okay, fine. If it were just murder, it'd have nothing to do with me. And if, from the look of it, it might be something more, that's my line of work, like it or not. Okay, I'm fine with this. Again, we're learning more about the character. So he doesn't investigate just regular murders. He investigates things that are more than murders, and like it or not implies that for some reason he is bound to do this, or you know, maybe there's a supernatural reason he has to do it, but for some reason he has to investigate these crimes. And so, okay, we're intrigued. We want to keep going. Okay, now next page. An NYPD plainclothes cop, Jack Rafferty, walks into the room toward our detective, smirking at him with a dry look. A big muscle man with a gut. Helsing's giving him a shrug. How's it looking, Ace? The man is dead. No kidding, I didn't notice. Really, what kind of dead? And then the caption says, Lieutenant Jack Rafferty, plainclothes cop for the NYPD, man who called me in. I would put the man who called me in. Like, I get the kind of hard-boiled short staccato sentences, but this one feels like there really should be a the. I'm going to change it. I haven't been making changes because a lot of this would be stuff I would talk about first, or I would make extensive suggestions that I can't do here while I'm talking to you. But you know, that one, I would say the man who called me in is fine. Again, this is almost kind of like hard-boiled detective cliche. Like, how's it looking, Ace? Like, I don't know. I might suggest coming up with something like Ace that is this particular character's version of that, like that we wouldn't normally hear, and then the idea would come across, but it wouldn't feel old and tired. You know, like I don't know what this character would call people all the time. Like Bud is another kind of like cliche one, but you know, maybe he has some kind of weird, funny thing that he calls people all the time, and then it would still, the cadence would stay the same, but we wouldn't feel like, oh, come on, you know, because nobody really talks like that, and because we've heard that so often as to make it cliche. the man is dead. I would cut I didn't notice, because I get this, it's funny, right? He's like, "He's dead." He's like, "Duh," right? But and I get that the "I didn't notice" is also sarcastic, but it doesn't necessarily come across that way, whereas "no kidding" does. So I would just leave it like that. And then I would also cut this. I would say, "No kidding. What kind of dead?" Um, okay. Both are still looking at each other over the dead body. I can handle him then. Need to. See no bites so far. Again, I would put I. Like I see what's happening here, but I would that would feel better to me. I see no boat so far, but looks too much like he was for me to walk off and let it be. I'm assuming was bitten. All right, like I'm going with the vampire thing here. So, um, also I can handle him then. Like handle has different implications, right? Like it could mean like I can handle it, like it's fine, I can handle it. Or I think what this means is like I can touch him. He's asking, right? This is a crime scene, and he's asking the detective or the police officer, "Is it okay if I touch this body?" But it's not necessarily clear. So I would say touch, right? I would just change it so that there's no confusion, right? Um, you touch him then? You need to? I see no bites so far, but I don't know. I wonder, like, it looks too much like he was for me to walk off and let it be. Was what? Because bites is not a thing that could have happened, right? It's not a verb. And the was implies that something happened, a verb happened, right? So it doesn't actually make sense. It doesn't line up. So we can't have that there. So I see no bites so far, but looks too much like, or like, since we still don't really know what's going on, right? You could just say it looks too suspicious or something, right? Like for me to walk off and let it be. Okay. And then he's saying, I got to turn his neck, maybe pull open his robe, look at his chest, his shoulders. I don't know. Yeah, well, do it. Don't want you in trouble, Jack. You say it, brother. It's good enough for me. Do what you got to do. Okay. Um, let's see. I'm deciding where I'm going to stop here. Okay. Let's just finish this panel. Panel 3. Adam's turning the body over. But that's the peak, like the peak of a mountain. Peak, like look, is EE. I'm not with the NYPD, not FBI or Interpol or MI Bloody Six. I'm nonetheless able to take part in this sort of thing, whether Rafferty's superiors like it or not. I wonder if this means able or like I'm being invited or I should be taking part in this thing. Like, I guess I would have to read on, but I'm kind of wondering, like, does that mean that the NYPD and the FBI and Interpol and all these people allow him to do this? Because right now it seems like only Rafferty is doing this. It seems like we're in one of these situations, which we see often on like crime shows, for example, where like there's one cop who's got this one guy who's not really supposed to be there, but he trusts him and he's bringing him in. So again, like I'm able to take part in this sort of thing, or like I'm not any of these things, but Rafferty trusts me, or but I'm the only one who does what I do, or something like that. Okay, I'm going to stop there because we're probably reaching the end of the amount of time in which you would keep listening to me about this. But thank you for watching this. And again, feel free to visit my website, faithkmoore.com, and click on editing services, or just scroll down and click on the link in the description of this video. And you don't have to be ready to hire me to click on that page. You can click on the page and look at what's going on there. And also there's a contact me form right on that page. And if you're somebody who's kind of wondering, am I ready for an edit? What kind of edit do I need? Do I want you to be my editor? Contact me. Let me know what's going on. Check in with me. And I would be happy to help you. I will just say this video is being filmed on October 23rd, 2022. And I am currently booked all the way through mid-February of 2023. So if you're thinking like I'm going to need an editor, but I don't need one yet, contact me now because my calendar is filling up and we'll put you on my calendar. I don't charge you anything for doing that, but I do ask that you assume that you're going to be on my calendar. And then if something happens, that's okay. But if you're like, I'm going to need an editor in 6 months, let me know, and we'll book that time for you so that when you're ready, I'm ready. Okay? So thank you very much for watching, and I hope to hear from you at some point for some reason. Check in, say hi.